All right, guys, top of the morning. Happy March 22nd. It is Friday, coming to you on the eve of a big trip for me. I'm going out to Nashville, Tennessee for my second time speaking in Nashville, second time there. If you've been to Nashville, please raise your hand or give me a emoji on the screen. I find it to be one of the coolest cities that I've ever been to. The music, the energy, the vibe, the culture, I just find it to be an amazing, amazing city. So I leave first thing in the morning. But before we get into the sentiment of today, Ashley, it has been a minute. So first off, I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate Christina on all of your accomplishments in this last year. And it is no surprise to me and no surprise to the group that both of you have won awards for achievement in your performance. And so congratulations to you for winning an award, for being able to be honored and be out there and celebrate. So if you can, go ahead and take us out on the field on this beautiful Friday morning. It's good to have you back. And once again, huge congratulations to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I am filled with so much gratitude after this trip. There's no way I could have anticipated how incredible of an experience it was. And something that I took away that I want to give to you guys is that there are people making millions of dollars out there, regardless of the market, and there's nothing different about them than there is about us. There's absolutely nothing different. The only difference is they show up every single day. They're doing certain activities, and we just need to copy those activities, make them our own, and keep showing up just the same amount that they are, and we can do exactly the same thing. They're people just like we are. So.
Totally. And obviously I'll probably get some opinions for you guys from you guys. I mean, sentiment, if you could just kind of sum it up in 2 minutes or less, like what's your sentiment with everything that's happening with the NAR settlement?
Sentiment with the NAR settlement?
Yeah.
I honestly don't think it's going to affect anything. My sister is a real estate agent in Washington. They've already had it on their RPA for a year now, where they've had to discuss buyer commission with the buyers. And it hasn't affected anything. They've had to kind of figure out how they're going to have that conversation with the seller, how they're going to have that conversation with the buyer. But at the end of the day, in Washington at least, nothing has changed.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that. So good to have you back. Thanks for being here. Love the new studio. Can't wait to get asked to shoot some content in that studio with you. But I
Anytime.
saw I saw something yesterday from Tom Ferry, and it said the only agents who need to be scared right now are the agents who refuse to adapt to the times. Right? If you hold on to the old ways, if you're unwilling to perfect your presentation, to add layers to your presentation, to add depth to your presentation, then that choice simply is going to be on you because you choose not to adapt. We did an in-person workshop, and for the people that were there, thank you. We're not going to stay too much on this topic because I want to shift gears. When you think about everyone that was in the room, there's like 64 people there, and I just put two circles on the board, and one of the circles was horrible with an arrow that pointed to that, and the other circle was opportunity with an arrow to that. And you had an opportunity to opt in. Well, both choices are free. Both choices are free. You can either see this as a horrible thing, and if you choose to see this as a horrible thing, I'm going to tell you, and I'll be straight with you, you are absolutely right. You're right. If that's the choice that you have to say that this circle is the horrible circle, and oh my God, then you're right. And I love you nonetheless, but you are 100% right. But if you say, you know what, I see the opportunity in this, then you are also right. But like I said, both choices are free. So why not go with the choice that is more positive, that's going to serve you emotionally, mentally, and financially in the grand scheme of life and in business? So we all have a choice right now. Choose the horrible or choose to see the opportunity. You opt in, and both choices are free. So that simply rests on you. So guys, now what we're walking into. We're going to talk more and more about the NAR settlement in the coming weeks. We're going to be doing more in-person workshops. Here's two things that have changed. A, the unilateral offering of commission has now and will go away. Starting in July, you will no longer see that. And you'll also have to have a broker-buyer agreement signed. Now, determining value and worth and all those are things that we're going to start developing over the course of the next couple months. But what can you do now? What you can do now is you can really perfect your presentation, your value stacking, your offerings, and you have to put yourself in a position like this. You have to think like this. If Will, Sarah, Kelly were in a room right now and you're sitting in front of a $1.5 million buyer. And they said, I'm going to interview each of you guys right now. Please stand up and share with me why I should choose to work with you. What would you say? Right. And if you don't have that now, and if you don't have that down to a science to where you can articulate your value that justifies your compensation, it's going to be an uphill battle for you. So I got to share something with you because I read this and I thought that it was really applicable to what we're all experiencing right now. And it's all in relation to, and well, before I go into this, bro, let me get your hand. I want to make sure I don't skip that hand. Let's go to you before I get into this.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Just a quick touch on that. The difference that when we shift into this mode now to where we have to communicate our value as buyer's agent, I really want everybody to reflect on that. Most buyers find their homes online. And if they're working with an agent, they're getting set up in MLS, and auto prospecting is dripping listings on these clients. The normal modus operandi, if Elias is my client, is I don't ever prospect for him. That's how a normal agent works, not how the very best of us work, but your average agent. Elias calls me and says, hey, Will, I want to see ABC. If I'm really good at what I do, I call those agents, find out if there's other offers. There's a lot of agents that just try to schedule showings and don't even try to call, ascertain what offers are on the table, right? That's what makes us different. So I think that for you to make upwards of 1.5% on a deal, Elias and I spoke this week, we may see that buyer's agent average drop as low as 1% for, the low discount brokerages that are opening up around the country that are going to shift into this low cost model, right? We need to be able to prospect for our clients and explain to them if they're looking for a 4-bedroom, 4-bath in their area, that not only are we looking online, but we know how to prospect for properties that are off the market. We're marketing to sellers to try to find them properties with value, equity position, et cetera, so that we are able to communicate that we are hunting not just online, but that we're bringing something new to the table. And as we're moving into this transition period until July, we really need to be able to formulate that pitch and put that into a solid buyer presentation that we can deliver. That's going to be the difference for fast agents and other agents, in my opinion. I really reflected on what Elias and I had talked about and how I would convey that. So I just wanted to put it out for everybody.
Yeah, God, I couldn't agree with you more because let's just be real. There's companies out there that have been out there for quite some time. You have Open Door that will, buy the property for super, super cheap and then flip it and put it on the open market. You have Purple Bricks that has been around for a long time, which is a discount brokerage. You have Redfin that advertised for many years to give a rebate back to the buyer. Then you have the discount brokerages. Oh, I'll take your listing for 1%, right? It's safe to say that no matter where you are on this call, those companies exist. Has it put us out of business? No, it hasn't put us out of business because no matter what happens with these discount brokerages, people will always pay for value. And if you can articulate that, you can demonstrate that, you can document that, you can illustrate that, and people get a sense of the value that you bring to the table, guess what? We don't have to worry about those things. And listen, there's going to be, and I said this in person, like I said, I don't want to go too far in the weeds on this. There's going to be people that are slicing and dicing and dashing. And I saw somebody fucking advertise a clearance sale on buyer services. I said, what? What? So you're going to have people that do that. And any negative that happens from this National Association of Realtor settlement, that's on us. That's on us. Any negative that comes from the path moving forward, it's on us. But also the change, the good, the positive, the impact, the heightened value, the professionalization of this business, that's our responsibility. And we're walking into a new era because check this out. Each of you could get a call right now for a $1.5 million buyer. They say, hey, I want to go do a showing right now in 2 hours. Cool, I'll meet you there. You open the door. Wonderful. No, we don't like it. We'll get in touch with you. Maybe they did want to do a buyer's consultation. Maybe they did not. But you would instantly go right now. Raise your hand if you'd go to a $1.5 million lead right now. Correct. Now, if you had that same $1.5 million listing opportunity, would you just go? Or would you A, buy yourself some time, prepare your documents, do the research, make sure you have your value stack, make sure you have everything printed to where it's this beautiful presentation that you can flow through with a consumer? Would you do that? You absolutely would. So now your buyer's consultation becomes like a listing presentation, because why do we do a listing presentation? We do a listing presentation to justify our value. Our value is the compensation. And by doing that, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the marketing. I'm going to do the open house. I'm going to do the stage. I'm going to do all these things. So that's why the presentation is going to be even more important. And we'll talk about that in a second, but I want to share something with you. So this is about being prepared and separating yourself from the pack. And it says we can be prepared yet look woefully unprepared, meaning you can have all of your stuff in a row. You've created your beautiful buyer's presentation, but the way that you deliver it is choppy. It's non-rhythmic. It doesn't have a flow, and it makes people confused because you don't have a way of conveying the information in a way that a consumer can attach to your words and attach to your message. We can be an expert yet have the presence of a novice, meaning that there's so many people on this call that have tons of information and consider themselves experts, but the way they deliver the messaging is not congruent with their expertise. And so a buyer, once again, is confused. We can be passionate yet appear apathetic. What I mean by that is that so many times we have this passion to help, to serve, and to want to give people the opportunity to build financial wealth and stability and everything that we offer. But yet when we get into our presentation, we minimize that passion and we do not allow that to be showcased. And I love that part of it. We can be genuine, but yet sound insincere. You're sounding insincere because you're pushing versus just saying, you know what, Christina, I want to ask you a ton of questions right now. And I want to make sure that I really understand what your goals are, what your family wants to do over the course of the next year, couple years, so I can make sure to serve those needs. So buckle up, because I'm going to ask you a ton of questions. Like if somebody really feels that you're interested in them, then they'll be more in tune with you and want to share more. On the other hand, through the use of stronger delivery techniques, such as your buyer's presentation, we can be perceived as being more prepared, more of an expert, and more confident than perhaps we are. Exceptional presenters know how to use both vocal and physical delivery in their advantage. And I want to share one last quote with you guys, and I thought this was really, really powerful. And I can't say this enough, how important your presentation is going to be in the coming months. How the word is spoken can dramatically impact the power of the spoken word. Let me say that one more time, you guys, because I want you to hang on to these words. How the word is spoken can dramatically impact the power of the spoken word, right? Everything that you guys are going to do now and in the future is all going to be based on merit. And what I mean by that, you're going to be graded and judged based on the value that you offer. So if you don't have a sequence, a flow, if you don't have a dynamic delivery right now, then how are you going to stand out? And so I have a question. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on right now. Does anybody have any questions, any thoughts, any sentiment about maybe what they can do to improve their presentation? Is there anything that they feel that they would like to start adding to their presentation? Or is there anything that you have done this week to take action to already be prepared for the road ahead? Does anybody want to grab the mic and start to share? Because I think this could be a super, super powerful conversation. And let's get the hands up. Let's not be quiet. Let's get involved in this conversation. I don't care if you're new. I don't care if you're a 17-year veteran. I want to know what you're going to do right now and what you have done. Let's go, Joellen.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I got my first seller listing buyer broker agreement signed, where I'm representing the seller and the buyer with the new rules coming ahead. So I did this 2 days ago. I role played it. I just kept role playing what the conversation was going to sound like. There's a few ways it can go. And my sellers, I needed to address with them, what was going on with the commissions. And I said, there's a couple options we can do here. Now, this doesn't technically take place until July, but we're already getting ahead of the curve. We can try this out with no seller compensation, right? Or you can offer some compensation. I would what we would need to do is watch how the offers are coming. And if people start to just go away once they call us and find out that we're not offering a compensation, then we might want to have a new discussion and look at what that might look like. You know, we already talked about maybe 1%, 1.5%, whatever it might be. And so they said, yeah, let's do it. Let's just try it out. Let's see how it feels. Let's not let it go too long, you know? And I said, no, absolutely not. And then I said, on the other side, the seller may not be offering a compensation, which at that time, I'm going to need to be paid for my services because I'm going to be representing you and, you know, in the real estate transaction on that side. And they said, oh, well, we want to make sure you get paid, you know, and we want to make sure it's fair. And so I got them to sign 2.5% on the listing side, and I got them to sign 2.5% on the buy side with me.
So okay, and so this is potentially because it will be dual agency. You'll represent the seller, you'll represent the buyer.
No, this is for they're selling and buying with me in California.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah, so I've never done where I've had them sign a buyer agreement when they buy with me. It's just been trust. But
Yep.
now I've had them sign the listing agreement and the buyer agreement, and I have them locked in for 6 months. And now the only thing that I was playing out in my head where a seller could be really hit hard is because if the seller is paying the listing agent and then the seller does agree to pay the new buyer's agent, and then when the seller gets ready to buy their home, they have to pay their buyer's agent commission too. That's 3 hits, almost 9% potentially for them. So we got to be really creative in how we're playing this out. I went over the scenario of the offers might be look like this. Oh, we would like credit for my buyer's agent. This may be it, you know. So I went through all of the things that could potentially happen, and they were willing to take a step with me and try this out before it even takes place.
Yeah, I think this is really smart. But that's assuming that the listing was taken at 6% and that the concessions in the form of compensation, call them whatever we will at this point, is going to be 3% to the buyer's agent. I do not see it being an exact match. I could see the listing agent taking 3%, but I could see that other number is probably going to, it's obviously negotiable, but I don't see it being a mirror for mirror, mean 3 and 3. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
You know, but you are right, because listen, the sellers, it's gonna catch up to them, you know, down the road. It's because, you know, whatever sellers filed for this lawsuit, but when they go to sell their house and they're going to purchase a house, guess what they're doing? They're paying for their representation.
Exactly.
So,
It's still basically going to be like a wash if you think about it.
totally, 100%. So I love what you've done and what you've taken action on. In a moment here, what I want to do is, and I'll get to the hands that are up. What I'd like to do in this session today is I'd like to hear from you guys, meaning that say somebody calls you right now. They say they're pre-approved and they want to go see a house in Sacramento, Bay Area, Central Valley, wherever they are. How are you booking that first appointment to go over the broker buyer agreement and to go into your buyer's consultation? So it's going to be a little bit different, the verbiage. So I want to hear what you guys would say, and I'm going to get some hands up in a couple minutes. Let's go Nias, let's go Kelly. Nias, rapid fire, let's hear from you.
Just to kind of touch bases on that that last question that you asked, as far as like the buyer's consultation with them, I'm thinking that they're going to have to start being more personalized. I don't really think that the Zoom meetings with the buyer consultations is going to, especially if you're asking for money, and be able to have them sign. So I think that the Zoom presentations of the buyer consultations are probably going to kind of go away and personalize them a little bit more. One of the things that you talked about as far as like what's moving forward, and I know that you always touch bases on content with Instagram and on social media or whatever, but I think it was either earlier this week or last week, we touched bases on the high note presentation of putting video content inside of there, explaining your value proposition, where you can be able to put it inside of your MailChimp or your email blast or whatever, and be able to send your high note presentations or however you guys are going to relay your message to them. I'm thinking that you're going to really have to be able to personalize one-on-one videos with people, put it inside your high note to where they can be able to feel that, you know, that you're giving them, you know, that information that they need to be able to trust within you.
Yeah, totally. And here's what's going to happen. And once again, I said this in person, so I apologize if this is redundant. You're going to have to say no to buyers. What I mean by that is that you're going to get a call, $1.5 million buyer interest, right? Hey, yeah, we'd like to see 123 Main Street. Wonderful. Here's what we do next. I take all of my buyers through a consultation. During that consultation, I'm going to explain the buying process. We're also going to go over buyer broker representation and what that looks like for you as a consumer, as well as compensation. Oh, I'm not willing to pay compensation. Okay, well, then I'm not willing to work with you, right? We're getting literally that conversation is going to come up. But at the end of the day, can a buyer right now go out and write an offer without representation from one of us? Absolutely, they can. And that's never changed. They can go do that. But also, what is the risk? Right? What is the risk? Because what you guys do and what you will always do from now until the end of time, you will all be the people that are in the business of risk aversion, right? Through your ability to negotiate, to look at the reports, to look at all of the disclosures, to find material facts that the common eye, meaning the person that is just getting into the market, they don't know how to look at HOA docs and see if there's a settlement or if there's any potential litigation, something that's going to raise their HOAs in the coming year. They don't know how to look at all of that. So here we are as risk aversion. But a buyer right now, if you went out with a microphone and you went and interviewed 50 first-time home buyers and you asked them this simple question on the street, what do you think a buyer's agent does for you? What do you think a normal person that doesn't know what we know would say? They open doors. Maybe they write offers. They don't know the layers and layers and layers of all the things you guys do. The sleepless nights of looking at disclosures and you're passing out. How many of you have had that? I've done that before. So I'm just saying, you guys, there's layers and layers to this. Joanne, was that a new hand or an old hand? I'm gonna come to Kelly, and then we'll come to Nicole. Joanne, was that a new hand or an old hand?
No new hand, but I was just gonna say, yeah, they just think we open doors unless you explain exactly what you're doing.
Right. And when you explain it, it's just, you guys, it's just like a listing presentation. Think about how you show up to a listing presentation. And I think there's a point where I agree and disagree with Nias. I am a huge believer in the Zoom presentation for a buyer's consultation. Can we do everything right here? 100%. But you got to know how to flow on a buyer's consultation on Zoom, just like you would in person. I personally don't like the distractions. If you're in a coffee house, it's noisy. But if that works for you, it works for you. I think that if you just have the ability to say, you know what, just like you would a listing presentation, you show up, you look good, you feel good, and everything is laid out in this beautiful sequence. And what do you talk about at the end? You talk about your compensation after you have demonstrated your value. It's no different here. It's no different. Kelly, let's hear from you. We'll go Nicole, and then we'll go Joanne, and we'll shift gears.
I want to say that that's absolutely correct, Elias. Everything you've been teaching me and everyone else that has been teaching me, I've been applying it. And when you show up as your authentic self, just as you are with the skill, I feel like it will work, because even I got my first call yesterday. A client called me and wants to possibly list and buy. And so meeting her today as my authentic self and bringing the skill, I know it works. So listening to Elias, and I've been on the team for exactly 2 months and like 5 days. So
Yes, Kelly, I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited. She called me yesterday. I'm so excited for you. Ilona, I appreciate what you put in the chat, but beware for everyone on this call. Please do not take that Facebook post and fucking repost it. And I'm just being real as penitentiary still right now. There's a lot of things in here, but I saw a video earlier. Does the mechanic tell you every single nut and bolt that they twisted? No, they give you their professional diagnostic based on what they found when they inspected your car. I like that list, but what I would do is I would take portions of that and I would say, how do I uniquely show up for my consumers? I'm seeing so many people fucking repost this, and I'm just like, okay, I get it. Confirm water source and status, discuss transferable warranties, all that stuff. Like, put that into your own words as a unique value proposition, because I promise you, tons and tons of people are seeing this. And it is not coming from Ilona's words, because what Ilona does is vastly different than what's on this list. I like the list, condense the list, personalize that list, and make it yours. Kelly, congratulations. Let's go Joanne, and let's go Will Dangler.
So on the point of what do regular people think that buyer's agents do, I recently had like a 9-year-old kid say to me, realtors get paid a lot of money to get someone to sign a piece of paper and that's it. So obviously that's not his opinion. He's repeating back what he has heard from his parents, right? So I actually see this as an opportunity that now they are going to see what we actually do for all of the things we do and just get a piece of paper signed and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes we have to dumb this down to where like a 9-year-old truly can explain understand this. Think about it. So many people just don't know. Well, let me share with you very, very high level what we actually do for consumers. Because here's what consumers think. They think that this shit's easy money. And a lot of people think, and listen, I asked this question in person. A lot of us on this call have made easy money. I've gone and showed one house before. They fell in love with it, wrote an offer over $1 million, got it accepted, cashed a $30,000 check. Okay. But the days of easy money in regards to working with buyers, that's going to cease to exist in July. We're going to have to work, prove our value on every single person that we work with. We're also going to have to say no to a bunch of consumers. But what else it's going to do is it's going to condense the amount of people that are truly, truly ready and prepared. Because in the broker buyer agreement, I think it's section 4. I don't quote me on this. I have it, but it states that buyer is to prove that they have the ability, meaning pre-approval as well as proof of funds to showcase. So now we can eliminate all the people that are just looky-loos that want to drag you all around town. So you're welcome because you got back some of your time. Let's go, Jeff, and then let's go, Nicole.
I'm just starting to come into this conversation and just thinking about these things. And of course, the value you add as a buyer's agent, selfishly, is your partnership with your lender and all the things that lender can add to that relationship and what you're doing for them. And they don't necessarily pay for that. This is a feature, benefits that you're able to offer them and the things that at least the loan officers on our team and at the Money Store do from a standpoint of getting that buyer ready and the time that they pour into them. That sales cycle on a buyer nowadays is much longer. So I would, make sure that you have a really strong lender relationship and even integrate that, of course, into the conversation in your buyer's presentation and all the benefits and all the things that your lending partner, that your teammate, not just the lender, but your teammate that's part of your team is going to do for you and put you in the best possible position to get your offer accepted, best possible rate, all those types of things.
Yeah, and you guys, I love this. When you are setting that first appointment, I want to go through some of this role playing in just a minute. When you're setting that first appointment, to get a Jeff, to get a Christina, to get a Ashley, to get your lender partner on that first call, it's going to make it even more powerful. It's going to make it even more powerful in a stance of the moment you start working with me, I stand on a pillar of education, right? And if you guys really look at this broker buyer agreement, and if you observe this, there's a section here. It's actually 7B, and it's buyer obligations. And in 7B, it states within 5 days or 2 days in this case, calendar days from the execution of this agreement, which is the BRBC, buyers shall provide relevant personal and financial information, including but not limited to proof of funds and pre-approval and a pre-qualification lender to broker to assure buyer's ability to acquire property. So this signature here and this document puts us in a way better position to serve and to help people because we know that they're actually qualified to purchase a home. Nicole Penland. And Joanne and Kelly, if you guys can lower your hand so I don't get confused, please.
Okay, so I did a couple of things to make this fall into my flow. For one, I asked the VA to add a page to my buyer's consultation that listed my commitment to you, as well as a list of tasks that realtors perform. And then also, so I've never really done like online leads. 9 times out of 10, my leads are either referral or open house. So they've met me in person. I have the conversation with them at the open house to see if they've already been approved. And, if they haven't, then I do the handoff to my lender. And then when I follow up with them, when I do the buyer's consultation online, and add that commitment to you, then I can go into my compensation and have them sign the buyer representation agreement. But also, so on the CARS website, they're doing a free course on it right now. I did that the other day before I had a consultation. And they mentioned that like you don't have to have specific property on there. You can have like, you know, a certain amount of days. They said sometimes when you go too long, it may scare buyers away. So you can easily renew the contract. So like if you want to do 90 days and renew after that, because you don't want to necessarily get locked. If y'all not clicking, you don't want to be stuck with them. So I've used 90 days for the one that I did this week. And I put the maximum that they're pre-approved to in the county. So it's not, because they said there are little wiggle rooms, like if they decide to go buy a purchase over here or in a different city or things like that, it can, you know, make the contract void. So I being that I had already had them pre-approved by my lender, I had the amount and had them sign according to that. So as long as I find them a property within that up to their maximum in Alameda County, then I'm representing them for 90 days.
Good. I love this. I love this. And you guys, there's a lot of gray area right now. For example, if you get a BRBC sign and you and the buyer agree that the buyer is going to compensate you 1.5%, in no way, shape, or form, and you'll see more of this verbiage come out, are we going to be are we going to be able to say, you know, my compensation is 1.5, but we'll see if we can get concessions from the sellers. Like we're not even supposed to say that we'll get that, right? Even though we may. Now, say you take a broker buyer agreement for 1.5%, but you're talking to the listing agent on said property and they're willing to give a 2.5% as a form of a concession to compensate the agent, right? Well, now there's a 1 point difference. Well, that 1 point would not go back to the agent in today's terminology based on the contract. That would not. Maybe the seller would keep that, or the seller can give that to the buyer as actual closing costs, but it wouldn't be in the form of compensation. So what I see is an addendum, an amendment to the broker buyer agreement so the agent can make more money if the concessions are offered to compensate the agent at a higher level. So these are some unknowns right now, but I think that you're going to see like, well, wait a minute, I can make a little bit more money on this deal. I want to try to negotiate. Right now, we're not able to, but I think those are some things that we may see change in the coming months. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. I'm just speculating. Let's go, Joellen.
Yeah, so how I explained it, so I have them at 2.5%, but if the seller is going to offer 1% or whatever it is, then I'm just going to subtract the difference. So I'm not going to take an additional, I'm going to subtract from what I've already put on there. So they just pay me the difference.
Totally. Yeah, makes sense. So what if it's the opposite? Let's see here. So Brett Burns says, what if it's the opposite? The BRBC is 3%, but seller is offering 2.5. Is the buyer obligated to pay the difference? No, the buyer's obligated to pay you the 2.5. The seller doesn't have to pay that extra 5% or that 0.5%. The broker buyer agreement obligates them to what's on the BRBC, not to pay that additional 0.5 point.
So if the buyer has agreed to 3% and the seller's offering 2.5, do they have to pay the difference?
Correct, because they signed that agreement not with the thought that they're going to get any. Remember that the thought of, oh, I'm going to get concessions, I'll probably be able to get you a rebate back on that 2.5 that you're going to pay me. No, that's not a part of the conversation.
So, but in my thought is like, I want to value my services the same way I do for a listing agreement, right? That's 3%. But if they're offering 2.5%, which is fairly standard, and it's what I've been taking, I never go back to the buyer and say, hey, I charge 3%. You owe me the 0.5%. In this scenario now, are they obligated to do that? Or would I be able to say, they're giving the 2.5%. Don't worry about it. I know you signed 3%. We're good.
Oh, so you're saying, okay. I mean, I don't have that answer. I don't have that answer. So you're saying instead of them paying a total of 3% to you as the buyer or you as the buyer's agent because of the broker buyer agreement, they're willing to give 2.5%. So you
The
as a
seller.
buyer, like, I'll take that and you're off the hook. That means
Yeah.
that there would have to be an addendum or there'd have to be a new contract signed.
Yeah. So 3%, unless, however that language goes, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and
Gotcha.
some of the language and the terms
Yeah.
of like how that looks, because I'm going to be real with everybody on this call, and I'm not saying that it's happening, but there's going to be some agents out there that'll be like, "Ooh, I saw a concession. Let me cancel my original one and
Yeah.
rewrite a new one." That shit's going to be shady. But at the end of the day, who's going to be the people that are actually investigating that and exploring that and enforcing that? Just like the PED form. Before, you had to have a property entry advisory disclosure form signed before you went into any home, right? The buyer had to sign that. I promise you, there's people on this call, myself included, that went and showed houses without signing the PED because I didn't get it in enough time. Did I get it eventually? Absolutely. But I didn't have it. And who was there to enforce that? So a lot of this is going to change. There's going to have to be some level of enforcement moving forward. So Brett, really, really good point. And a lot of that's still unknown, bro. But good point. Let's go Joellen, and then we'll go Sylvia rapid fire, and then we'll move on. What's that? No. Hi. Okay. Sylvia, rapid fire on your end.
Okay, in the past, I have done exactly that. They excuse me, the seller was paying 2.5. I wanted 3. I did this buyer broker agreement. I put in 3. I explained it to my client. And when excuse me, when we went to escrow, I did get that other 0.5%. So I did get my full 3 because I had put it in the agreement.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Will, let's go to you, and then we'll shift gears.
Hey, what's up, guys? One thing that I kind of wanted to pitch out to everybody, or at least a stance that I'm going to take, is I'm going to make this much less about the money that I'm making and more about the value proposition. Like, I'm coming down to the Bay Area now. One of the videos that I'm doing today before I leave is going to be kind of a 4-point quick video. I'm going to do a buyer presentation video in the media booth. It's going to explain what makes a championship team. I'm quarterbacking you through your experience. It's knowing your property inspector, knowing your lender, knowing myself, and we're going to try to pick an escrow company that we know, we're comfortable with, that has good fees. Explaining that it is that group, that team, that's going to hold each other together for you through your escrow, so that you know all of the pieces that are in play. You understand how your escrow works as a buyer, and I'm communicating value out of the gate and assembling a team for you before you've even written an offer. That way we can have, in concert, you've got a property inspector, the lender, and an escrow officer, regardless of whether or not you actually get to use them. I always write my own escrow in just so that I can keep the highest level of control in my transaction. If they counter me on it, then I go with a different escrow. But if we can explain to a buyer in a video that those people are already together and here's how your buying process is going to work, it is less about the money. We go through that. It'll be a quick video presentation. In the end, it says, hey, as far as the new NAR rules go, we've got to sign a buyer broker agreement. As in the past, I try to make an average of 2.5% per transaction. It's negotiable on a case-by-case basis to be paid within closing costs, seller credits, or other means. Lender credits as well, right? So you've got to have a lender who's on point to be able to have your back of the buyer and say, hey, we can also do lender credits to cover that, to minimize your out-of-pocket expenses. I don't want to sell them and structure them on how much it's going to cost. I want them to see the value that they're going to have and understand that there would be a cost with anybody they work with anyways. What I do is different. The value proposition is completely different. And now you understand out of the gate what it takes to get your deal done. I would rather communicate that in a nice Shredder video that is done really well and get that point communicated in 3 minutes. And as soon as I have someone hit off one of the lead lists, they're getting that video immediately. I used to do it anyways, but obviously not communicating with the new NAR rules. So can we get that point across out of the gate so it's a done deal and settled, and we can focus on showing properties with the buyer broker agreement? I can send you that video and send you a PDF of the buyer broker agreement or a DocuSign link. All right, that's the way I'm going to approach.
You guys, like the preparation and the flow and the cadence, and then the consumer experience and the consumer journey, you guys, that is going to be so much more important than it is right now, because you do that already for a listing, and we obviously have I've articulated that, but it's the same thing with the buyer. And once again, you guys, if you haven't read the book, The Catalyst, please make sure to read that book. Listen to that book when you're driving, when you're between showings, when you're in traffic. Sit down and read that book, because I promise you guys, it will give you an idea of how to really unpack the consumer journey from the moment you get that phone call and for a lifetime, and everything in between. So, Sylvia, I'll get to your question in a couple minutes, but I do have a question, and who wants to take this first one? So, two questions for you. We did this in person, but I'm going to continuously do this, especially in this forum. A buyer calls you, whether it is they met you somewhere, they got a referral from you, they're an online lead. And the moment you start talking to them, they ask you this question: why do I need representation? Why do I need representation? I don't care who you are on the call right now. People are reading headlines. And once again, fucking people are sheep. And people are sheep led by this shepherd who is called the media. And they're, a new thing. Because check this out. I posted this yesterday. Who's talking about rates? Who's talking about rates? That's all everyone's been talking about. Oh, rates. I can't buy rates. Have you heard anybody talking about rates in the last week? Ashley, have you? Nias, have you? Brett, have you? I've heard nobody fucking saying anything about rates, because now the media is now being the shepherd, led the sheep in a completely different direction. So, Joellen, I'm hoping that you're raising your hand because you want to get involved in this conversation. Why do I need buyer representation?
Well, first and foremost, I want to share with you that I was with a group of people yesterday, and when I was getting ready to leave to go show a home, the gentleman said, "Oh, your industry's really underwater now, isn't it?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, the whole commission thing." I said, "You know what? It's just your agents are still going to receive a commission because we're going to do our job. We're going to do it, and I went over a couple of things. He said, "Yeah, but I don't have to pay that commission to you any longer." And I said, "No, then what are you going to do? Who's going to read your disclosures? Who's going to go over your inspections?" He's all, "Well, I can use an agent and pay, whatever." I said, "That's been here this whole time. Redfin, 1%. And then a fellow Rotarian looked at him. "Go ahead and use that agent. See what you get out of that." You know what I mean? So that was what it was all about. I'm like, who's going to support you? Who's going to go over your disclosures? Who's going to make sure that, they're reading your documentations, talking about lawsuits, arbitration? You can go ahead and use that agent. And he looks at me, he's all, "Yeah, no, I don't think I'll want to use that agent." But that was the conversation. So, I mean,
Totally.
I kind of got upset. I felt like, but you know what it reminds me of? When people ask you, "Oh, how's the market?" And they want you to be super negative about it, right? Now it's going to be like, "Oh, commissions. I don't have to pay you." We have to have our game face on and be super confident and be like, "That's not going to affect me. That may affect those 1% agents, but not me."
Break it down, Joelle.
That's right. That's right. Jeff, I love seeing your hand up. Let's go to you, and then we'll go to Sylvia and we'll shift gears.
Hey, I've been, again, thinking about this. My brother is an attorney. He's a divorce attorney, which sucks for him. But we talk about this, and we talk about, a loan officer, in your case, realtors. You don't have billable hours. You don't charge for every moment or every minute that you're thinking about how you're helping this buyer, or even on a listing side. And he tells me, he's like, "Look, you guys," again, as a lender, and I guess as a listing agent, but you have a commodity. You're selling something. As an attorney, I don't have a commodity. I don't have a widget that I'm selling. I'm selling the expertise that I have, the experience that I have, the education that I have. And that's, from an attorney standpoint, that's what he has to sell. And there's tons of things that can compete against, hiring a lawyer. I mean, there's tons of services out there online. So I would equate it more to that. And of course, from an attorney standpoint, if you're going through some legal matter and the plaintiff has an attorney and you're the defendant, are you just going to go defend yourself? No, you'll get destroyed. So if, the listing aid, the seller has representation in the form of an agent, you better believe you need representation as a buyer. So that's just, that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're not going to go into court and defend yourself, right? You
No.
make sure that you're really, really prepared. And so that's why you need representation and you need somebody that is an expert. And this is why, you guys, this is why social media, this is why your presence, this is why you tour in homes, this is why you guys having a full understanding, reading, spending the time, right? Those are all things that people are going to look at you and be like, this person's an actual expert, right? They produce good content. They have great points. They seem like they're in the know. They have resource guides. They have a buyer's consultation. They have a flow. Like that's somebody I would want to work with. Let's go, Ashley.
I just wanted to say stories sell and stories really make an impact. I did one on Instagram yesterday. I know you guys have seen what happens when people try to do FISBOs. I know everybody has probably come across a buyer that's tried this and then gotten taken advantage of by a builder or lost their deposit or has heard a story. Tell those stories because it's not to make people scared or to lead like fear-based mentality. It's genuinely to warn them because these people are going to find out themselves. But if they can find out from us first what could happen if they go this route, maybe it will help them a little bit and curve that for them later.
Yeah, and how does this impact the quality of their life if a material fact that they didn't know how to find surfaces? And now what does that do when they have to tear up their whole entire kitchen floors to find a leak that was stated in the general home inspection that they never got done because they didn't know that they could pay a couple $100s to get this inspection done, and nobody walked them through that. And now they're having to live in squander. And they're a homeowner that's brand new, that they're a first-time home buyer. That quality of life sucks for them, right? Depleting all their money that they might have had, maybe some extra reserves. Guess what? What are you going to do and how would you pay for litigation right now if something came up? If you bought a house that you didn't know that had evidence of everescence, there was foundational cracks, hire a structural engineer, get a report for $695, and you didn't do that, then come to find out that that structure, the foundation needs to be repaired, and it's upwards of $80,000 if you're in the Bay Area. Where is that money going to come from? And then we get a 4.2 magnitude earthquake that puts their whole structure in jeopardy. And they could have got in front of this and not bought that house if they would have been aware of these known effects or defects of the property. That's our responsibility, right? That's my responsibility. And that way, if you can illustrate that, showcase how you review comps, disclosures, reports, how you summarize that so a normal human being in layman's terms can understand it, that's the value of working with you. Plus the community, plus our resources, plus our understanding of the Bay Area market, being able to do $1.5 billion worth of real estate sales in the last 3 years. There's no better team out there that understands asset management and protection of buyers and sellers in the Bay Area. You guys, I'm just freestyling, but put me in front of a buyer right now. Put me in front of a buyer right now. I promise you guys I would win. Promise you. Let's go Blessing. Let's go Romel. Let's go Sil.
One of the things that we've always said when it comes, especially to talking to online leads, is that we have the impression that they know a bunch of other realtors. We probably are the first person that they're reaching out to and having contact with. So our ability to actually start to craft the message, we now become the media. We now provide them the message that's going to be able to help them understand exactly what they're getting into. I think the big part about, especially right now this week, since it is the big topic, is putting out that information that is going to start to prepare someone. I just look at it. There's a specific agent in my area. She hosts events and has host events consistently where the entire neighborhood knows her. The sense of loyalty that the neighborhood has. I lost out on a listing from a friend of mine because they go to her events. They are committed to her because they see her all the time. This is the time now where everything doesn't make sense and we don't have all the answers. But if we provide the message that sets people up to win, that loyalty we will earn. Like, it's just the way that the world works. So not being afraid, asking the questions, speaking out. We might not know exactly what our value proposition is now, but we can work on it. We can start to put it out so that when that buyer has a question, they are coming to us. They're thinking about us first. And no matter what the industry does, whether you're charging 2%, 4%, no percent, whatever it is, you're the voice that they now base everything around.
Totally. God, well said. Well said. Think about this, you guys. Think about context and content. Here's some good content for you. Here's your buyer, let's call it case study, right? Here's all the details. I beat out 17 offers, saved them X amount, got them X amount of concessions, right? That's the content, right? Here's another video that is context. And what I mean by that is I want to tell you the hero's journey. The hero's journey was the Girovich family who had been looking for a home in this part of the Bay Area for 6 months. They got beat out. We re-strategized. We were able to get them a house on a cul-de-sac. Here's a picture of them. They're so happy that we were able to beat out 16 offers, save them $10,000. So be a Girovich. Right. Well, wait a minute. Now I'm connected to a person and a family and a message that shows how human the process is. So each of you guys should be able to create the saga and the story of the hero's journey. And who's the hero? The hero is the buyer. The hero is the consumer. It's not you. I love you guys, but you're not the hero in the story. They are. And if we can start to showcase that more to where other buyers can see, wow, that looks like me, Christina. Brett, those people look like me. Otis, those people look like they're from the same neighborhood as me and they did it. Shit, I can do it as long as I have someone like Otis to help me. Romel, let's go to you. And then Sylvia, I'm going to get one last final comment and then we'll wrap.
Elias, I saw you and your brother finally finish that rebuild of the shack in your brother's backyard. You guys spent a lot of time on YouTube and watching HGTV and figuring out how to DIY that thing. You look really frustrated. I mean, how did all that really go?
It's painful.
Yeah, and you're a smart guy, your brother's smart, but not everything can be DIY'd. And I know you and your wife are getting in the market to buy a house now, and you're hearing some headlines that you don't need a buyer's agent, you don't need representation. And I just want to tell you, man, this is not a project you want to DIY. You want to work with a professional to represent you and make sure you get this project done quickly and efficiently. And I am here to help you do that. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. It's like I've heard so many things over the last couple of days, like this is I'm here to manage the project. I'm here to be your caddy. I didn't realize what caddies actually do for you for golfers. I heard like I'm your armor, right? I'm here to protect you from all of the things such as the SPQ, the TDS, the reports, the disclosures. I'm your armor to protect you. So we're all going to be saying the similar thing, but once again, it needs to be in our unique way. We all connected to the DIY. So let's go rapid fire. Then we're going to wrap up this conversation.
Okay, Romil is absolutely right. This is not a do-it-yourself. A lot of people think that they've sold cars in the past, so they can just go stick a sign in the yard and sell their house also. But or that they feel that they can go directly to the listing agent and cut out the buyer's agent and save some money. But what I tell people when I get that is, think about a divorce. You don't want to use the same divorce lawyer that your soon-to-be ex-spouse is using. And then that kind of puts a light in them and they're like, yeah, you're right, because they want somebody that's going to look out for their interests only. And so usually when I tell them that, they're really cool. And buyers have always asked me, what is your fee? So I don't think that this having to now be required to sign this buyer broker agreement is going to be that much of a problem, because buyers are already expecting and thinking that they have to pay already.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Well said. You guys, I'm going to share something with you really quick. So we created something new for you guys, and I want to make sure, first off, I want to make sure everyone can see this. So topics and ideas for Keep It Moving. I'm going to put a type form down in the chat below. I want you guys to take this, whether you have it now or you come up with something later. But your input and your insight is important. Paste here. Here's what I do not want to see on this list. I do not want to see contractual things. It's not my specialty. I'm not going to fucking sit here and go through contracts with you. Not what I'm going to do. But if you have suggestions on topics, on flow, on business building, on branding, on marketing, on, conversation pieces around booking for appointments, like, the specialty of this group, there's the type form for you guys. So fill that out. I would love to hear your thoughts and ideas as we grow. Your guys' thoughts and input are super, super important. So grab that link, have that link. That way you guys can provide me more insight, more focus, and make sure that I'm always delivering for you guys. So I want to, Ashley, you just text me something. Sorry. Okay, cool. I'm down for that. Let's talk offline. You guys, thank you for all of your contributions today. Give me a thumbs up if you found today's session effective, helpful in any way, shape, or form, or give me an emoji on the screen. Thank you. Joelle and I will have fun in Nashville. I'm presenting on Sunday. I have 45 minutes, so I'm excited because that's a lot of time to share my talk and my my points. And so really, really excited. So you guys have an amazing weekend. As always, keep it moving towards your dreams, goals, and vision. And if you need anything, feel free to give me a call. Peace.
Thanks, everyone.